Joining me is New York Congressman Gregory Meeks, chair of the House Foreign Affairs Committee. Welcome. Happy to have you here, my friend, talking about all of this as we begin with, I mean, look, there's no way to describe it other than intense talks are ahead this week with the U.S. and NATO trying to get Russian President Vladimir Putin to back away from Ukraine. Senior Biden administration officials say no firm commitment is going to be made by the U.S. during talks this week. OK, they've also said any steps taken with Russia would have to be reciprocal. So as you look at these talks, what is success for you? What does that look like? And with concessions, is there any risk of undercutting NATO's authority by putting that out there?
I think that what our administration is doing is making sure that we're coordinating with NATO, with Ukraine, and with our other allies. That is extremely important. So it's not just us, because if Russia continues its aggression, we are all going to have to work together to push back that aggression. And so this dialogue and conversation that's going to take place with the Russians, there has also been a dialogue previously and will be dialogue afterwards with our NATO allies, as well as our EU allies, as well as the Ukraine. So there's that conversation going on. But there's stern conversations that will take place to let Russia know that there will be serious consequences if it continues with its aggression with those troops that are on the border and in trying to infiltrate Ukraine.
Okay. But Vladimir Putin has got to know that discussions, plans being drawn up like this between these allies have been underway, and yet he has not backed down at all. So what, you know, Josh was talking about the carrot and the stick. What are the carrots and the stick in this circumstance? I mean, if he hasn't backed down knowing that these discussions are happening, what's going to make him back down now?
Well, we haven't seen him cross into Ukraine. He moved some of those troops back, and they're going back and forth in that regards. So we don't know what's in his mind at this point. And I don't think he knows. And I think that what he has to hear is that there will be severe consequences, not just like what took place in Crimea. And think about what is at stake for Russia if they continue their aggression.
So you just said something very interesting that nobody has articulated yet to me, that being that Vladimir Putin may not know what he's doing. Really?
He may not know what he is going to do next. So he looked at what took place with reference to Crimea and the results of the sanctions that we were put on place there. But now he's hearing and seeing where, and this is why working in a multilateral way is extremely important, what the consequences will be. And that's why, you know, in the segment previously, they're saying that he is hearing things now that he may not have heard before as far as what some of the plans may be, because we want him to know, the administration want him to know, what the serious consequences of his actions are. And so sometimes when you go in something and you know what the serious consequences will be of your actions, it causes you to pull back and do something else.
Okay. These waters have been muddied a little bit because we're not just talking about Ukraine here. Vladimir Putin has sent troops into another country, that being Kazakhstan, this in an effort to try to help restore order after those deadly anti-government protests. Could that situation impact Russia's calculus in some way on whether or not to go into and literally invade Ukraine?
I think that they could be intertwined. I don't put that behind Russia also. Russia will take advantage of any scenario that it has or it sees. And it could be instigating or trying to take advantage of the situation in Kazakhstan, which is something that we've got to focus on also, because that's another very complicated scenario and situation. And we know that Russia could play both sides, be trying to play both sides against the other in that region. I do believe that what he would love to do if he could is to reconstitute the Soviet Union. But just as Ukraine has to have the freedom to determine whether or not they want to be part of NATO or not, other countries in the former Soviet Union countries, who many of whom I have visited, have indicated they want a closer relationship with the West. And if that's what they want, then we should make sure that we get closer and working with them, with our NATO allies.
Yeah, it's like that aspiration, if indeed would be something Putin dreams of. It's like that horse has left the barn. It seems remarkable to even consider that.